Welcome to our program on Kardec Radio.
Welcome, dear friends, to Kardec Radio and the Spiritism Society of Virginia, here in our Friday Inspirational Talk. This is a moment to get us inspired, to recharge us, to make us feel so good and alive, in spite of the cold or the hot, the heat, wherever we are. So we invite you to join us today, because today we're going to the roots of Spiritism. Sometimes people don't have time to study and read the books. So today we have a special guest, our friend Adriano Barbo from the Mount Vernon Spiritist Center in New York. Yes, in Mount Vernon, New York. A center we love to visit. The community there is so friendly, and he brings to us, as its own founder and president, his studies and his faith. Some of you already know of him, others will discover our dear friend today. But before we go there, we're going to prepare ourselves, because this is about true education for the soul, therapy for our souls, and Carlos is going to bring to us now the message.
All right, from the book, The Way, the Truth, and the Life, chapter 97, Do You Love Enough? He asked him a third time, Simon, son of Jonas, do you love me? John 21:17. To less informed disciples, it may seem odd that Jesus asked the apostle 3 times about the certainty of his love. Upon hearing these repeated questions, Simon Peter himself became disheartened, thinking that the master doubted his innermost sentiments. However, the teaching is deeper than that. At that very moment, Jesus was entrusting Peter with the ministry of taking part in the redemptive endeavor. The fisherman from Capernaum was going to contribute to the spiritual growth of Jesus' words. He was going to preach the gospel, acquiring new qualities for eternal life. Therefore, the Lord's question was highly significant. Jesus does not ask the disciple about his own ideas, nor does he want to know how much Peter knows about him. He does not ask for a formal commitment. He only wants to know if Peter loves him, enabling him to perceive that with love, all the other issues would be taken care of. If disciples have enough of his divine essence, then the hardest tasks become a ministry of promising blessings. Thus, it is crucial to realize that your intellectual achievements are very important, that your questions are praiseworthy, but in reality, you will only be an effective and efficient co-worker of Christ if you have love.
Thank you, Carlos. So now we invite you to pray with us, preparing for the attunement with the good spirits. This is the moment where the Spiritist Center enters our homes. It requires more discipline on us, but it's a blessing, because the good spirits can do something that probably was harder to do before, to be in direct contact with our own network. So let us facilitate their beautiful and loving and charitable work by praying, deepening, since the message Carlos read to us, asking us to open our hearts. Let us pray. Dear God, creator of everything good, intelligent, fascinating, your universe surprises us every day, the new discoveries and the ones that are ahead of us. And there is a universe inside of us too, awaiting our discoveries. We no longer want to be conflicted. We want to allow the divine potential you've created us with to blossom, to bloom, to give fruits. We want to delight ourselves with the discoveries of our potentialities and praise you for each one of them. And you are so fascinating that in spite of everything you do, you blend into our hearts in such a way that often we think we're the ones doing great things. But thanks to Spiritism, we now understand that we are co-creators. It's humbling and it's also very exciting to know that you count on us. We're getting used to that responsibility. And tonight, we would like to know even more, to understand what Spiritism has brought to us, to boost in us everything you have designed for all. We pray for those who are here with us and those who are watching on demand. We pray for those who have their names in the book of prayer in our center, the Spiritist side of Virginia, and at Kardec Radio, for the countless requests of help. We turn them all to you, certain that you are taking care of each and every one. We love you, God. And with your permission, we would like to begin this moment of deep therapy for all of us. And so be it. All right. So before anything else, here's Luciana. Right, Lu? You're going to, as we're talking about Spiritism, you're going to bring another Spirit book moment, right?
Yes. Let us go into Kardec's teachings, right, to the book, the Spirit's book. And as we learn more and more, and as we study a little bit more, we are now on part 4 of the book, the Spirit's book. This is the new version that we are using right now. So I changed the page for you to see. So part 4 is hopes and consolations. So this is so comforting, right? Because we have hopes and we are always looking for consolations. And Kardec brought this to us in the Spirit's book. And this part is the earthly afflictions and joys. We all go through this, right? We're still on the planet Earth. We are still going through a lot in our lives trying to progress. And the item of today is the item 1, and is a relative of happiness and unhappiness. I'm missing one L. So it's relative happiness and unhappiness. So the question today is 921. And Kardec asked the spirits, we understand that men will be happy on earth when humanity has been transformed. In this meantime, however, is it possible for him to enjoy a relative happiness? So, as we mentioned, we're going through life, we're going through difficult times, right? Trials and expiation, and we want to know if we are able to actually to be happy. And the spirits answer to Kardec. Man is most frequently the artisan of his own unhappiness. So it's on our hands, right? By, by practicing the law of God, he would spare himself many misfortune, securing as great a happiness as a crude existing allows. So if we follow God's law, if we are really connected to the divine and are striving daily to be fulfilling, right, the teachings that Master Jesus through the gospel brought to us, we'll be able to be in the right pathway, as the spirits mentioned here further in the answer. So it all depends on us. We need to follow the law of God. And yes, we will be able to be happier, or some part of the days, right? Some times of the day, the existence that we are here, we will be happy. But this is only happen if we are aligned with this divine law. And the spirits continue. The man who fancies in the earnest his future destiny, seeing his corporal existence as nothing but a brief stopover, it represents for him a short stay at a shabby hotel. So the spirit is saying here, if we are able to visualize that this is passing, right? This life is going to give us experience to progress, to become better. So if we see that as trials and expiations, as tools, as opportunities for us to grow, we'll live this life different. And he continues saying, he readily takes comfort when faced with few passing inconveniences on the journey that shall lead him to a position which will be all the better, the more carefully he prepares himself ahead of time for it. So we need to prepare ourselves to continue our perfection and happiness. And the spirits continue saying, we are punished in the life for the infractions we commit against the law of corporal existence by the misfortune that results from such infractions and from our own excess. So we always go to the extreme. We always trying to do something that we were not supposed to be doing. So this comes to us as a punish. But he continues saying, if we are to go back step by step to the source of what we call our earthly afflictions, we would realize that for the most part, they are the result of prior deviation from the straight path. Due to this deviation, we enter the wrong road, and from one outcome to the next, misfortune befall us. So, if we don't follow the law of God and go through this excess and trying to do things that we're not supposed to do, we are gonna suffer and won't be very happy. So it's in our hands, the spirits are telling us, is in our hands to follow the law of God and find this happiness, because the happiness As we mature, as we grow, as we evolve, we'll be happier and happier. Of course, there is trials and expiation here, but as long as we are aligned with the divine and we can do the right more than the wrong, we'll be happy in this reincarnation as possible. So let us continue now with the topic of today.
Thank you, Luciana. And now we invite our friend Adriano, who is here with us. Adriano Barbo Ferreira. He came from Brazil. He has been in the United States. Thank God. Bring Spiritism, right, Adriano, to the United States, and especially in the Mount Vernon Spiritist Center. Remember, Adriano, when we met before you founded the center, and here we are. What a joy to have you back at Kardec Radio, here, the Spirit side of Virginia, and you're there in your center, right? The center spirit, the Mount Vernon Center, right now?
Yeah, we are. Yes, we are.
Good. So it's a good reference, Adriano, for those who are in the New York area. It's not that far from Manhattan, right?
No, yeah, actually like 25 minutes.
Yeah, by car, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so for those who are there, this is a wonderful center. They are functioning during the pandemic, right? And
Yes.
the website, Adriano, would you like to share again the website before?
Yes, it's the mevscenter.org, www.mevscenter.org. That's
Okay.
our website.
Thank you, Adriano. And Adriano, today you come to help us with this beautiful topic, the first notions of Spiritism, the foundational principles of Spiritism. So I'll give you the word, put the slides, and we are ready for you, okay?
Thank you, Vanessa, for your remarks. I'm really happy and to join the Kardec Radio, the friends of Kardec Radio, the followers, all the people that are connected now or will connect later, sometime later, uh, and making part sometimes in the team that makes Kardec Radio work. It's a pleasure for me. It's a joy. I have many friends that usually comments to me about Kardec Radio, and I usually refer Kardec Radio for many people to see the programs, the talks, the studies, and then it's helping a lot of people. Thank God we have Kardec Radio. And as Vanessa said, today we are discussing the foundations of Spiritism, some of the basic we sometimes we refer as basic principles of Spiritism, pillars of Spiritism. But when we say basic, is not really that's really basic. It's simplistic, and there are more things that matter more. No, these basics they are very essential. We'll share some slides. Um, but without these basic principles that I'll bring just a few because there are like a lot of them, at least 15, but I'll bring here today just a few. And I'm really uh, happy to come in here with this cold winter, right? Cold days, but I'm sure that we are very warm. Our hearts are warm because there are, I'm sure that everywhere there is cold. There's people dying of hypothermia, but I'm sure there are people dying more of coldness of heart, right? Because despite the weather sometimes is warm and hot, people are so cold and petrified that they don't offer as a shelter for others, and there are a lot of people dying with this kind of coldness without love. I'm sure that people sometimes wish that we could serve for them as a shelter, because they are suffering of pandemic situation, depression, mental illnesses, many kind of hardships, and all they want sometimes is a little moment that we can offer them, shelter them inside of our heart, and offer them some comfort so they can go on their journey. It's like on earth we are doing this journey, right? And there's these stops that we do every now and then to recharge our batteries, to rectify the things that we've done. And we need like those safe place that we could shelter ourselves for those moments. And those stations is us one another. So let us in these times offer us as these stations for others to rely, sometimes just for a second, just for a minute. We see that in those cold days we are walking outside and it's so cold, our hands are freezing, our nose is really like petrified already, and we find just this little door, and then we go in and there's the heat, and we feel warm like just for a minute, and then we're ready to go on. But thank God we had this little door that sheltered us for a minute. In life sometimes like this, people need us just sometimes for a minute, for 30 seconds, just all they need, and those could be a word or a prayer or a good thought. So let us not make this weather outside the weather inside of us. Let's be warm for everyone. So I bring in here some slides which I want to share with you with the time that I have. I will explain to you what I want to to mean about it. Here, that's the basics, essential. I'll put essential basics because without these points here, these principles, let me put this slideshow. These principles here, we can't have any understanding of Spiritism. Sometimes we take for granted those principles here, and we want to go advance in understanding the spiritism, and then if we don't understand at least the minimum of these points here, like God, immortal spirit, reincarnation, communication with spirits, and plurality of the inhabited worlds, and many more, and then our understanding of spiritism is so weak, and is full of flaw. There's a lot of flaws if we don't understand it, because there is no spiritism at all if we don't accept the existence of a God and understand at least the basic of God. And of course, there is no spiritism at all if we don't accept and understand the basics of the immortal spirit. And there is no spiritism at all if we don't understand reincarnation, communication with the spirits, and many other principles. So I'll try to explain you here a little bit of it um, for the next slide. So I brought it from the basic books of Kardec, the Spirit's book, Gospel According to Spiritism, Medium's book, Genesis, and What is Spiritism. So here, and I'm gonna read in my phone here because it's better for me. The Spirit is the intelligent principle of the universe, created by God. We had beginning, but will not have an end, simple and ignorant, to evolve and accomplish individually through its own effort. So, here we're talking about us. Immortal spirit is us, human beings. So when in spiritism we are referring to spirit, we're referring to human beings, either incarnated, which is in the body as we are now, or in the spiritual world. Sometimes we use the word soul to refer for the spirit which is incarnated, which is us. So we are, according to the spirits, the intelligent principle of the universe. The universe, according to the spirits, has many elements. Three of them should be exact: God, spirit, and matter. So we are a spirit. It means that we are not matter, and means that we are not the body, because the body is composed of matter and serves for the spirit as an instrument to evolve. We can explain a little later. So we are this intelligent principle of the universe. And this intelligent principle, which is the spirit, is created by God. We're gonna go to God in the next, few slides later. Created by God, and these immortal spirits, which is we are all spirits, immortal spirit. When we're talking about spirit, we're not talking about the body. The body dies. The body goes through a biological transformation, and the spirit, which is us, survives the bodily death. So we are immortal. When the body dies, the spirit continues. And we spirits were created by God somewhere in time. We don't know when we were created. The point that we created, we will never cease to exist. We're going to exist forever. It means that's why we are immortal. It doesn't mean, of course, that we existed forever, because we were created in a point in time. The Spirit doesn't inform us when, but um, we have been evolving throughout time. It means that the Spirit, like us, like humans, with the evolution that we acquired, we have been created long time ago, and we achieved a lot of evolution, but we have still a lot to go. It means that we were created simple and ignorant. It means that these immortal beings that we are all, what it means to be simple and ignorant, without the knowledge that we have today. We were created with this, all the virtue, all the potentials, but we had to work with ourselves throughout the experiences of reincarnation, which was one of the basic principles of Spiritism, to achieve the knowledge, the evolution that we have morally and intellectually. It means when we say simple and ignorant, it means that we had known nothing when God created us, but He gave us all the means necessary to achieve what we've been achieving throughout time. And we evolve individually through its own effort. So this by our own effort, of course, we know through the relationship with one another, we can help each other. So in here, in the Heaven and Hell book, the Spirit says to us, in the item 6, spirits are created simple and ignorant, but with the aptitude for acquiring all knowledge and for progressing in every direction through the exercises of their free will. So the moment that we achieved reason, the moment that we evolved to the point of incarnating in a human body, it means that we have responsibility in our choices. And our evolution, our happiness in everything that we achieve is in our hands, is the use of our free will. Free will and will is one of course, another basic principle of Spiritism, because without free will, we can't accept the existence of God. We can accept the notion of evolution and responsibility. So, therefore, in Spiritism, we accept the principle that every spirit has free will, and through the free will that is attached the evolvement, the evolution of us. So it means that the choice that we do will of course will have consequences for our lifetime, for our destiny. So is no, that's why we in Spiritism we study a lot about ourselves, the consequences about the actions and reaction in is another law. So because the consequences that we are facing today were of course chosen by the use of the free will that we done in the past. The rig long past ago, like many reincarnations before today, or even like a couple of minutes ago. It means that it is in our hands and we are progressing.
Excuse me, Adriano.
Yeah.
I think the slides are not passing. I'm still seeing the first slide.
Oh yeah. Oh.
Yes.
Okay. Let me see here. I'm sorry. Is it passing now or no?
Now, yes. Thank you.
Yes. Okay.
Yes. Thanks.
Okay. 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 I'm hearing this one now. Are spirits formed spontaneously or do they proceed from one another? God created them as all other creatures were created by divine will. We repeat that their origin is a mystery. So it is another basic principle to us to really have it in us. We proceed from God. We can't create another human being, right? So it means that the spirit precedes the birth. When a child, born, we help it with the material things to create a body appropriate for the spirit to enter on the flesh and live in the body that we are now. But it doesn't mean at all that we created the spirit through, the pregnancy that existed and the consequently birth of a child. We, as a man and woman join together, so we have a reproduction through, for the body, which is the envelope, which is for the spirit to reincarnate. So the spirit doesn't proceed from another spirit. The spirit, which is us again, comes and were created by God, and the spirit complements even more. Not only us, but everything in the universe is created by God. So it means that everywhere that we look, we feel there is a creation of God. And then when the, understanding ourselves, getting to know ourselves, our attributes, what we really are, we are understanding the creation of God because we are a creation of God. So, if we are spiritists, it means that we accept that we came from God. That's on one point. That we are immortal. It means, in despite the death of the body, we're gonna survive anything that our imagination could imagine. So it means no hardship at all will distract us, will make us suffer, will be hard for us to go through, and etc. and etc. However, we are indestructible. We spirits are indestructible. It means that we're gonna remain forever, and we are progressing by the use of our free will. And then we're gonna see another principle: by reincarnating many lifetimes, we are achieving experience, wisdom to choose better and do better. And we were created, of course, by the divine will, which is by God. And of course, there's a lot of things that we don't know. There's a lot of things that the Spirit didn't reveal to us, like when exactly we were created. Like the Spirit's telling here, is a mystery, yet we are not able to go so deep to know when, how we were created. Only God knows that. Of course, the superior spirits like Jesus, our master on earth, knows that, but we are so in the beginning of our evolution, we are unable to understand how God created us. It's enough for us to know that we are immortals, and then we were created by God. There is no way at all that we can accept Spiritism and be a Spiritist without accepting this principle, that immortality of the soul. So, even though sometimes, if we don't study spiritism, we not be able to understand uh, the how we're gonna live in the spiritual world, the consequences of the body death, and so forth. But the survival of the soul and the spirit through anything is one of the basics that we have to accept, to be really a spiritist. Otherwise, it's nonsense. How could one accept God and earth and everything that if we are not immortal, right? If the spirits are not immortal. So it means that it's very, very important that we study even more a lot of things. Like in the spirits book, there's a whole chapter about it. We already existed before the body, and we will continue to exist after the physical death. When the spirit is in the body, we say it is a soul or incarnated spirit. When reborn in the physical world, we say it reincarnated. When dead, it discarnated. Discarnated goes back to the spiritual plane or realm when it come from when we born. So it means that when we discarnated, we go back to a spiritual realm. So we can discuss it another time. So we have the spiritual realm. So we are immortal. Where we when the body dies, we go back, or we enter in this vibration of the spiritual world, and then we are usually called spirits. But when we incarnate, sometimes we can use the terminology soul to refer that a person, a spirit, is reincarnated. So it means that here one of the principles that I introduced in already is the reincarnation that we do. So it's like changing clothes every many years, like 10, 20, 100 years, we change bodies. Like, now I'm 42, but maybe this body gonna die in 60 or 70. I lose this body. I enter the spiritual world, the world of the spirits, and remain there for many years. And again, I born again and achieve through the birth another body. So, and then goes on until I achieve what I have to achieve through reincarnation. It means reincarnating many and many and many times. I'm gonna explain a little more about reincarnation in the next slides. So, why I brought it's interesting that we understand that we're immortal, and God is this one of the central points in spiritism. Without God, we can't the spiritism doesn't make sense at all without God. And we can explain a lot of things about God, but because God is God, we have just the little explanations about God, but we have enough to understand, for us, to understand our own selves. So it means that if there is any spiritist, it means that this person believes in God and accept the existence of God. And what spiritism explains to us about God. God is the supreme intelligence, the first cause of all things. This is very classic in spiritism. We very often say this answer to that is given to Kardec. It means that God is the creator, is the supreme intelligence, the one that governs and do everything in the universe, maintains the universe the way it is forever and ever. So that's one thing that we have to understand. There's nothing more powerful, there's nothing bigger, there's no other God. There's just one and single God that, is above anything. So we accept God, although we can't explain much about God. So sometimes when we say to people that we accept God as the creator, the supreme intelligence of the universe, they think and they want a lot of explanation about God, how God created the universe, how God exists, how he governs the universe, and so forth. We have a lot of things in Spiritism, especially Spirit's book that explains a lot about God. But because we accept God, it doesn't mean that we have to or we need to have all the explanations about God. It's about accepting a lot of things in life. We accept a lot of things in life that we don't know how to explain it. We have a lot of laws in life. We accept the laws of physics, but I'm not a physicist, so I don't know how to explain it. Although I accept it, so we accept God, although we don't have all the explanations for God, and the ones that we have is enough for us for now. So this is one of the things that we know about God. We know something that that God here put quote unquote possesses. God couldn't exist without these so-called attributes or qualities. God is infinite and eternal. It means that God encompasses everything and it is eternal. It means different from us. We were created, but God weren't created. We don't know how to explain that. I sincerely, and I think no one ever, for now, for a long time, can't explain how God came to exist. And when I was a child, I started thinking how God came to exist, and to tell you the truth, I became dizzy and dizzy, just to think how God could create Himself or itself. But we know and accept that God is infinite and eternal. He wasn't or it wasn't created. God is unchangeable. It means that God is permanently the same for eternity, ever and ever. It means that and it is very important to us, although it's so-called basic, but even in Spiritism, we say that sometimes people, God is sad with you, God is sad with us, is angry with us because we haven't done our homework, because we have been behaving, um, transgressing His laws. God doesn't change His mood or its mood because we are behave in certain ways. So God is unchangeable because if he or it is changing, so it means that it's impermanent. But God is permanent. So we have to accept a God with all the that we know about Him or it permanently the same forever. God is immaterial. It means that, like we said before, there's three elements or three elements in the universe: God, matter, and spirit. God is not us. God is not a spirit. We don't know how it came to be and everything, but we know that God is not us, and God is not matter. It's not the things that we see that we touch, the tables, the trees, the cars. The stars, the sun, the light, the darkness, the gray matter, the dark matter, whatever that is exists around in the universe, and that we call matter in all its essentials. So God is immaterial. So we can't accept a God which is material, like we had in other, or like for example, in other Christianity religions, which is like a man like that has a body. No, God is immaterial. We can't form an idea shape for God. We can't like picture it as the energy that fulfills the universe and helps us. There's a lot of ways that our thoughts can imagine God, but we can't imagine God. We can't accept a God that is material. God is unique. No other gods, of course, is one God. If there is another God, like God, so there will be like a competition which God could be bigger, according could be our thoughts come, like we do on earth. But God is just one God, no many gods, like in mythology or other religions. God is all powerful. It means that God has all the power in that exists. He has the power to do anything. So that's why he or it or she created the universe and make it works the way it works in harmony that we see today. God is just and good. There's another. We can't accept a God in the spirit that is supremely. I mean, it's all in its all scale, like infinitely just and good. It means that everything that exists in the universe has goodness, has love, has justice. We can't accept a God that punishes, that is a vengeance, that turns against its creation. God doesn't create evil to punish us, and etc. So whenever whatever we think about God, we have to understand that our God, the God that Spiritists accept and Spiritism explains to us, is the God that loves, and it is justice. It means supreme justice. There's nothing that escapes the justice of God, but the justice of God is, of course, based in goodness and in love. And of course, there is reincarnation. We can't be spiritists if we don't accept reincarnation, because we are these beings that evolve through time. We are created much less evolved than we are today. Like, no comparison. We achieved a lot. And to achieve what we have achieved, human beings, uh, we had to go through reincarnation. And what it is reincarnation according to Spiritism? The return of a spiritual corporeal life, plurality, multiples of existence in this planet and in other material worlds. It means that is the return. It means that there is a spirit out in the spiritual realm, here on Earth or in other planets, and incarnate. It means re-enters in a body through the bodily birth, through a pregnancy and the birth of a child, as we know, in biology and in our daily lives. It means that the spirit takes a new body, and when the spirits take a new body, we call it reincarnation. There's other religion that accept the notion of reincarnation, but different than Spiritism. They would think that the spirit would take a body of an animal, for example, a cow or another animal. No, the spirit can only, and this is exact, only reincarnate, enter again through the birth in a human body. Can be any human body at all, deficient. blind, whatever, but have to be a human body and have to be through a birth. We can't, like, create a body in a laboratory and later on in life enters a spirit in a body. Or, for example, a spirit leave a body and comes another spirit to occupy this body. For example, Adrian, for example, I, spirit, leave this body and comes another spirit to occupy this body. No. The spirit can only occupy a body through the bodily birth. Can be through the pregnancy, of course, through in laboratory and everything. And if by any chance in the future uh, the science could produce a clone, of course there will be a spirit to animate to enter that body from the beginning. Otherwise, this body couldn't, of course, have life. And everybody, I mean, the body that we carry on in this planet has a spirit on it. It means that we can't find anybody walking and alive anywhere around ourselves that there isn't a spirit, It is fun, but just let it, that we know that maybe in the future there is a clone, and then we say this is a soulless body. No, every body has a soul in it. There is a spirit in the body operating the machine, because this body that we carry on is a machine that we use to progress and execute the that we have to do on earth. Uh, what is the basis of reincarnation? Reincarnation is based on God's justice and revelation. Reincarnation, which asserts that people have many successive lives, is the only theory that I'm sorry. That satisfies the idea that we form of a God's justice. So another thing that reincarnation helps us is understand divine justice. That, for example, we see around ourselves many people suffering in misery, sickness, suffering and dying out there in streets, and many, this inequality that we see. Through reincarnation, we understand the justice of God. That's why in there, in the beginning, we accept this God that is just and good. And in reincarnation, through accepting the multiple, the successive lives in the body that we have, explains the justice of God. And that's why reincarnation is based in an expressions is expression and manifestation of God's justice. So when if we look out there, like, what is the justice of God? Okay, how about reincarnation? Reincarnation would, supports the justice of God, because through many lifetimes we are suffering the consequences of our own deeds, and God is giving us new opportunities to rectify, not only rectify the wrong deeds that we've done, but of course achieve new experience and evolve, and of course put in practice, use what we have achieved, and of course reap the good deeds, the good consequences of what the goodness that we have done. The principle of reincarnations The reincarnation is the natural consequence of the law of progress. So in here, the law of progress, there's another basics of spiritism. In reincarnation, we find, the law of progress. We accept the notion of evolution. We know that we evolving and evolving, but how? Here from reincarnation. Reincarnation supports the progress. Without reincarnation, we can't have the progress that we are achieving. And despite any other opinion, we accept that through reincarnation, like we do in school, through different classes, we achieve new knowledge, and through new knowledge, we are building up new progress, like we have done throughout the history of Earth. So every new lifetime that we have on the body, we achieve more and more. And throughout time, of course, we are piling up a lot of progress. So in there, Reincarnation is, of course, very much connected with progress. We can't accept reincarnation without progress. We can't accept the idea of progress, of course, without reincarnation. Like if we go studying a lot in spirituals, we see that everything is connected. Then if we miss one thing, it means that we can't accept the other, or the other will be like, fragmented. Usually we do these talks like one topic at a time, like reincarnation or divine justice, or immortality of the soul. Here covering up just a little basics about spiritism. Sometimes, just some comments about it, because this is very essential to us. That's why I just bring in a few comments only about each topic. What is the aim of the incarnation of spirit? It is a necessity imposed on them by God as the means of attaining perfection. For some of them, it is as an expiation, for others, a mission. In order to attain perfection, it is necessary for them to undergo all the vicissitudes of the corporeal existence. It is the experience acquired by expiation that constitutes its usefulness. So here, in the Spirit's book, the Spirit explains us is a necessity. Without reincarnation, the spirits could never achieve perfection. Of course, there will be a time um, for the spirit that it will not need to reincarnate in the body, the flesh that we are having. But for the spirit like us, it's still inferior, it's still a lot to learn through reincarnation. We have to, it's a necessity, and there's no escape at all, despite if we believe or not in reincarnation. It's only through reincarnation, and Spiritism explains that it's only through reincarnation that the spirit can achieve perfection, which is the destination for all of us. All the spirits in the universe are destined to perfection. It means perfection intellectually and morally. We will achieve all goodness, all knowledge, all wisdom that you can have in the universe. So you're gonna take a lot of time, but we are in the way. So in this principle of reincarnation here, we have progress and then we have progress. So the base for justice is reincarnation, and the base for progress is reincarnation as well. We can't accept those two things without reincarnation, of course. And if we want to understand those things, we have to study reincarnation and communication with the spirits, of course. And uh, someone out there say how long I still have. If God now permits the open communication of the spirits with men, it is in order to enlighten men in regard to their duties and to show them the road which will shorten their trials by hastening their advancement. Here we talking the communication with spirits. So it means that we are immortal. We have the spiritual world. We have the physical world, and then there is a way in which we can communicate with the spirit. And this communication with the spirit is permitted, is in the laws that God created. It gives us this chance to communicate with the spirits. But it was permitted by God, it was given by God for us to progress, to enlighten us. It means when you talk about communication with the spirits in spiritism, we have to keep it in mind. This communication has to be for a good reason, has to be for enlightening of humankind, for helping one another. This communication with the spirits weren't given us to for bad things, although it's being used for bad things out there. in many places. However, in Spiritism, we accept the communication with spirits, and this communication with the spirit has to be for goodness. Whatever goodness comes out of it, many ways, of course, to help them, help ourselves for clarifying and things like we have in now. This communication here, this text that I present in you, were given by spirits. So it's for our advancement. So the communication with the spirits has to be for the advancement for us. In the spirits, we have as is as a principle. These spirits act upon us, but this action is almost sorry restricted to thoughts because they cannot interact directly on matter. For this purpose, they need people who can offer them the special resources. These people are called mediums. Through a medium, the spirit discarnated can communicate if willing. So, the communication with the spirits, it means by thought. So, it's interaction from the spirit to spirit. However, our body, will express the will of the discarnated spirit, but it needs a medium. It means, in the communication with the spirit, we need a medium. So, in another basic principle of spiritism is mediumship. So, there's a lot of basic principles that we have to study to understand this communication with the spirit. So, here is another principle. To begin with, let us be clear about the facts. What is a medium? It is an individual who serves as the intermediary to the spirit so that they can easily communicate with people, incarnated spirits. Therefore, without the medium, there is no tangible mental reading, writing, physical, or any other type of communication. So let us keep in mind, without the medium, we have to study what is a medium. However, without a medium, we can't have communication with the spirits, at least directly communication with the spirits, right? So it's another base that we have to keep in mind. So whenever we have to explain or relate to our lives. So the mediumship serves as a support for the interaction and instruction. So the mediumship that we have in the spiritual center is to interact with the spiritual and instruct them sometimes, and they instruct ourselves. Is a fraternity, is a cooperation between the discarnated and incarnate. So the body now is not a box locked in us and blocking us to receive the help of the spirit. So there is the interaction here, and this interaction is done through the mediumship, of course, for our instruction, for our help, and for their help. um, how I think my time is done, right? I can have another 5 minutes.
Of course, Adriano. Go ahead. We're all yours.
Oh yeah. Okay, I have another 10 slides.
Yes, go ahead.
um, okay, I'm about to finish. The house of the oh, sorry. Okay, the house of the Father is the universe. The different mentions are the words which circulates in the infinite space and offer the spirits who incarnate on them the dwelling place which correspond to their progress. I'm gonna explain. I have another slide here. The spirits who find themselves incarnate in any words are not bound to the same word indefinitely, nor do they go through all the phases of progress needed to achieve perfection in that one word. When they reach the maximum degrees of advancements their word has to offer, they then pass on to a more evolved one and so on successively until they reach the state of purified spirit. So here we have the polarity of the inhabited worlds. We in the Spiritism, of course, accept the principle that all stars, all worlds in the universe has life, and of course in different degrees of evolution. And Earth, our little Earth, is just one little spot in the universe that God created to give as a dwelling, as a home for his spirit to evolve. Like us, there are thousands, millions of other planets in the universe that serves as well as the same purpose, as a home, as a laboratory for these spirits to evolve. And because there is definitely uh, degrees of evolution, the spirits explains us there's a lot, many uncountable planets inferior than Earth, much less evolved than Earth, and there's a lot of planets, uncountable ones like Earth, and there's many others, uncountable ones, more evolved than Earth. So these degrees of evolution is spread throughout the universe. So as we evolved, we are scaling up to a better world. So it means that we are not bound forever to stay on Earth, for example. As we evolved, we can evolve enough to inhabit a superior planet, a better planet, more advanced planet. And when we achieve, what the planet has to offer us, like in Earth, for example, in the future times when we have learned everything that we had to learn on Earth, we don't need to stay on Earth anymore, and we can be promoted and given the chance to inhabit another better planet, more advanced than Earth. So we have this hierarchy of the planets. There's less evolved and more evolved, and we accept the idea and the principle that the spirits inhabits the universe, and whatever there is a planet there is spirits. And of course, uh, the matters, the bodies, that the matter that compose these bodies in these planets are different from Earth. That's why, for example, this machine that goes to Mars, these machines, the robot, they can't see the spirits there. They can see the body there, of course, because they are not the same composition that our bodies are on Earth. Um, because these machines are made to see things parallel, similar to Earth, and of course, the composition of this matter in the Mars, for example, is different from Earth. But doesn't mean that there is any spirits living in Mars and achieving their progress through the laws that governs the planet Mars. So we accept this other principle, and in this in plurality, by the fact that there are spirits everywhere in the universe, we know, it comes to us sometimes when we don't understand these things. There's all this question why the universe has so trillions of stars, bigger, smaller, more evolved, and everything, if there is no use for it. So when we accept the idea that every planet has a purpose, has a meaning, has a greatness for it, we see how God is great. The wisdom of God is, in there, and the providence of God, because God is the one that provides. How could God create, you know, spirits, great living beings everywhere in the universe if he or it or she can't provide for them? So we see the providence of God in every thing and in this planets we see the providence of God and the purpose for, so we would look up in the skies and we see the Milky Way. When you go for in these shows that they show the universe, all the stars, all the Milky Way, and everything, and we see that all this greatness that envelops the earth, that our eye can see, there's a purpose on it, and it's the purpose on it is for the spirits, for us to use, to evolve. God haven't or hasn't created anything just to stay idle there for no use at all. If everything were created because there is a reason for it, there's a purpose of it, and there is a wisdom in it, there is a providence in it. So we have those are some of the things that I could provide for us today. But of course, if we go like studying it, we're gonna see, like, in each and every principle that we accept in spirits come out another five, another six other principle out of it, and so on and so on. That's why the study of spiritism requires years and years in dedication to really understanding it. So those moments that we reflect on it is just for us to see how big, how great, how wide spiritism is, and how more even how this knowledge can help us on our living on earth, how can help us in our relationship, how can this understanding of reincarnation, immortality of the soul, communication with the spirits, mediumship, and so forth have effect in our daily life. The solely meaning of 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 studying in spiritism is, of course, to make use of the knowledge for the better, for the advancement of us. Otherwise, we'll be just using knowledge to buy spice in our mind and our brains for nothing. And I hope I could bring something to you today, Kardec Radio listeners.
Thank you so much, Adriano, for this beautiful journey through the basics of Spiritism. And Adriano, it's so interesting because tonight at 11 p.m., we're studying the book, The Spirit of Truth, Several Spirits. And today is a specific message that if people listen to you today, they will know the answer. Because the title of the message is Spiritism Asks You. And probably they will already know the answer to the question in the message. So it's a teaser for them. Now that we're here, we want to open a little bit more of the discussion. We have here Luciana and Paloma with us. And for those who are watching, if you have questions, feel free to ask questions. But Paloma and Luciana, let us ask some questions that Adriano can help relate to the public more, understand. Adriano, you mentioned that all these teachings, when Kardec researched and brought it to us, it serves the purpose of making us improve ourselves and transforming ourselves. So how does it happen, Adriano? How do these teachings help us?
Well, of course, there's a lot of many ways. um, for me, as I in my life is through the experience. We The first step, of course, is getting to know it, intellectually. Going there and read a bit, getting to know the basics, the laws, and everything that's in the books. And then, of course, through the experience of day-to-day life, and then we are, comparing. We are when we wake up and then we look out there and see the snow, and there is a moment that we can use to bring this knowledge and reflect upon. Like, what is the snow? The snow is, who created the snow? Why the snow was created? And if we are dedicating to bring this knowledge to help us be better people, we're gonna see that there's no reason to curse the snow because the snow is like so cold, and you see the beauty on it. And there's a lot of, like when we see another person in need, or sometimes is another experience when we are is not so pleasant, and when we have some disagreement, and we see this person as an immortal being. So it means that every moment in our life we have opportunity to bring this knowledge for us to reach the moment. So it is of course a challenge, because most of the time we like keep the knowledge locked up in parts of the brain, and then we have the experiences in our life, and then later on we unlock those knowledge and say, we'll make kind of a reflection, which is helpful. But I guess the most efficient way is that, keep it open, and every moment bring a little bit of it out there, and to the experience, and through everyday experience, and then we are, like, I guess, enriching and learning.
Yeah, you're right. And here's John de Rose. One could say that Spiritist knowledge is as infinite as the universe. Well, it looks like the science of the spirit has to catch up with our evolution, we guess, right? Right, Paloma?
Yeah. And I was thinking about this just earlier today about the rover in Mars, how they're talking about, it's big for the current science to do what they're doing and sending pictures. But of course, Humberto G. Campos already wrote about it. So yes, science is catching up to the Spiritist science. We can already read about Mars with Humberto G. Campos, of course, and through Chico. So that's something. But my question to Adriano, which I think is a big question overall, is how does Spiritism explains suffering, right? We just understood what's our essence, reincarnation, but like, how come we still see so much suffering, and how can we deal with it under the light of Spiritism?
Well, it's very big, but I think in some way we all know why, right? Deep inside, we know why there's so much suffering, because we are imperfect, but deep inside, because it lacks of love. Uh, um, because if we have a much higher degree of love, which will happen in the future, the suffering will cease to exist. If there is if there is suffering, there's lack of love. However, love has its many degrees. We are starting to love. We already have love, but now the big love as the advanced spirit have, like Jesus, or like other spirits like Rich Barsanuf. And if lacks love, it lacks evolution. And with lacks love, it means that we still carry imperfection, and imperfection, of course, causes suffering. And those suffering that we are facing now is because, of course, the consequences of the bad deeds that we've done, and of course, the lack of advancement that we could have already gone through. There's many reasons we suffer. But the more love that we achieve, the less suffering we have to face. And if we have to face suffering if we love, of course, the meaning of this suffering will be totally different. Like Jesus, for example, or Francis of Assisi, spirits like this, they suffered, but their suffering were totally the meaning for them, and their, the way they suffered were totally different than we do today. We suffer as a punishment, as really a suffering, not as something that we serves us as a stepstone for a bad achievement. Um, so in a way, I guess if we are looking for to less suffer, we have to look for to love more.
Thank you, Adriano. That's a beautiful summary. And finally, one more question. Just a question that people ask, Luciana can pass it on to you, right, Lu?
Yes. Thank you, Adriana, for the explanation. But like in a point of someone just coming to see and know a little bit about spiritism, what would you say to this friend of ours that wanted to start this journey of learning about spiritism? What is the main thing that they need to have in mind to do and be able to do the spiritist journey?
Can you like rephrase it a little bit again? I'm sorry, couldn't like grasp it all.
What would you say to someone that listened to you today and wanted to be engaged to spiritism and want to learn more about it? What would you tell them what they should be doing?
Mm, I guess as for everything that is really important in life, we have to have really strong will, perseverance. When we start reading Spiritus, the first months, it's really great because it's new things that we didn't know, and it's new things really brings excitement to us, curiosity grab, you know, entertains us a lot. But throughout the years, the curiosity, the excitement goes, little bit by little going away. And of course, because we are achieving more knowledge about ourselves, about our responsibility, about our future, and everything, and then we have to face more the reality of ourselves, and then it had to comes with a strong will, you know, persevere, have courage, and restart as many times as it needed. I guess there's no easy things in the spiritism, and of course, there's nothing impossible to achieve throughout. If we really want, and it's all about us to persevere. But I don't see any spiritist that I know that achieves some good things in life without those qualities or without those things that I told. And if I achieve something, I couldn't have achieved it with just like sitting once in a while to read a book or see a lecture. I had to sit on it and many times, and with tears, with tiredness, with perseverance. That's how it goes. But of course, it's worth. So because sometimes I see like there's some spirits, they are so much in darkness and they are not really experience love at all, and they unfortunately they feel in their way, in their sick way, good in there. But when the spirit like they open themselves for love, even for like a second, for a millisecond of a second, when they experience that, they wouldn't change like a second of love for like 100 years in darkness. It's like when we get into spiritism, in all the hardships to study, to get knowledge and make the transformation, and all the hard work, and then we say, oh my God, I couldn't, although it is very difficult, is very challenging, cost me a lot, I wouldn't change it for like 1,000 years in the other way that I was living before. It's worth.
Yes, so it's interesting. As Luciana and Paloma were relaying these questions to you, and we again, time and again, we reminded ourselves of the great achievement yesterday, the Perseverance rover getting into, touching the very lands of Mars. It comes
Mhm.
to us, what you said, this effort, this perseverance. And it's about investment, as Mentor Joseph is saying, They had to invest billions of dollars, months and works, and a huge teamwork effort. And here we come again when we embrace Spiritism, right, Adriano? Right?
Yes.
It's very inspirational. Thank you so much, Adriano, for being with us again, bringing the joy of your studies and the confirmation. Love is everything that we need. And Spiritism confirms it, right, Paloma and Luciana?
Right.
So now, before Adriano, we wrap up, we want to bring Daisy and Carol. They are here with us, and they were before on the other channels teaching about the perseverance of somebody who achieved healing, right, Carol and Daisy?
Right, Vanessa. We were teaching the children about when Jesus healed the paralytic, and he is the example of perseverance because he spent 38 years without being able to move, laying down on the same place. And then he didn't give up. He trusted God. He persevered in his prayers, and Jesus came to him. And this is also what Spiritism symbolizes to us, is the coming of the Christ directly to us. And the Christ is the doctor of all souls. So he asked the men, as he asks all of us, do you want to be healed? And he is already there with the remedy. Right, Daisy?
That's right, Carol. It was such a beautiful lesson with the children, and we did an activity which, it's we did it with the children, but I think it's for all of us with an affirmation saying that, we trust in God, in Jesus, and we trust that they truly heal us, as Adriano was saying, if we trust that God is above, we are here just as to co-create with God. And then we work in the activity talking about one of the things that we can ask is to God to heal us from laziness. So we worked a little bit discussing how we see so much in our society nowadays, not only with the children, with the adults too. And as we're talking about, applying our time wisely. So we did an activity as we asked the children, how can we heal ourselves from laziness? So a very powerful message, and they're going to continue applying throughout the week how they want to asking themselves, do you want to be healed by Jesus? And then saying the affirmation, yes. And then they have the opportunity to practice, and we invite everyone. We're all invited to practice with them too.
Thank you so much, Daisy and Care. What a beautiful lesson. And thank you again, Adriano, for being here with us. One thing, Adriano, that Spiritism gives to us at the end of the day, we expand the circle of friendship,
Yes, that's true.
right?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, so it's good to have you here again. Thank you so much, everyone who participated. And we want to thank those who are here with us, and we can see Narciso, Daniel Pian, John Da Rosa, Mark Carlos, Janice Bloom, who is saying hi to you, Adriano, Nora Brasil, Flávia Limpin, Sol Souza, and so many others. But don't go away, friends, because we have the final part. And this part is where the good spirits wrap it up, and they have the opportunity of giving us more. They love us. What can we do, huh? Love is love. Adriano said it all. Love heals everything, and love is the answer. Carlos opened a message at the beginning talking about love. That's all we have to do. So we'll pass the word to Luciana, followed by Paloma, who will lead us into this moment of the final therapeutics of tonight.
So let us close our eyes and prepare ourselves to receive the blessings prepared throughout this meeting. Breathing in deep, let us inhale loving energies that our Master Jesus, the doctors and nurses of the Spirit Center of Virginia, has provided for us. Breathing out, we let go unwilling low energies that we had, lower connections that we made throughout the day or this reincarnation. And doing the exercise of breathing in love, we let go the hatred, the pain, the anguish in our hearts. And with that, we can elevate ourselves and feel lighter and lighter. Feeling the presence of these good doctors and nurses and angels that elevate ourselves from this space. We can see and feel us closer to our Master Jesus. And we can feel the warmth of the healing light coming from His heart to each and every one of us. Our heart is getting warm and spreading love to this whole physical body that we received in this reincarnation. Our spirit is already illuminated and connect with this divine. We see our spirit so bright that we know and we trust the divinity in us that is connect with our Creator. We vibrate health, we vibrate love, and we vibrate light. And as we absorb the blessings, we share this moment of healing to everyone in our network of friends, co-workers, and family. Those that we have connection daily, to our community. We see this healing light expanding, enveloping the neighborhood in our country. And as we learn from our Master that humanity is our family, we visualize these healing energies reaching all our brothers and sisters. And everyone is receiving the blessings of these passes. In our whole planet Earth, in all realms of life, are being healed and treated in this moment. And in gratitude for all the blessings that we received throughout the day, and especially in this time in which we are together, we pray to our Father.
Dear Mother, Father God, we want to express our gratitude for sending Spiritism, the promised consoler, to us, explaining to us our nature, that we were created by you, the purpose of life, helps us understand so much, and we feel blessed for this knowledge. We want to thank you for sending Adriano Barbo to help us further our knowledge, inspiring us for reflections, and leading us to this transformational moment. We pray for everyone that come acquainted to Spiritism, that they are able to enhance, to look further into their soul, to expand the view as a spirit. We also want to dedicate this prayer, dear God, to all the people in Texas that are feeling the effects of extreme weather. We pray for them, for their safety, and that they are able to recover rather soon. For the spirits that transitioned, we pray for their rescue, for their support, for them to be received by the spiritual doctors and nurses. And with that, dear Lord, we want to ask for your permission and under your protection to close the meeting of tonight, and so be it.
And it feels great. We love it. Thank you, Paloma, Luciana, Carol, Daisy, and thank you, Adriano, and Carlos here too. Thank you, Adriano, for being with us once again. Right? All right, friends. So if you have any question, you can always write to us at kardecradio@gmail.com, and we'll reply to you. All right? Thank you, Nora Brazil. Thank you, John the Rosa. Thank you, Janice. Thank you, friends. And let us stay tuned, because at Kardec Radio, there's always more to nourish our souls. And we'll be back here with the Friday Inspirational Talk next Friday. Thank you, friends.